The ship arrived just before sunrise. It appeared in the sky like a slow-moving star, silent and smooth. No sound. Only calm light surrounded it as it drifted above the hills of Kentucky. The harmony thread within the reawakened volunteers pulsed warmly. They could feel its presence. Alara stood on the highest part of the hill. Beside her were Jonas, Clara, and Raj. Behind them, all the awakened stood together, their eyes fixed on the sky. Some held hands, others stood in quiet peace. There was no fear among them, only calm waiting. The ship began to descend. It moved over the field behind Millbrook Inn and came to rest above the ground. It hovered without touching the earth. Its shape was simple, a smooth oval, silver and glowing. A single doorway opened near the bottom. A ramp unfolded without a sound. Then the light inside changed. Two figures stepped out. They were tall, slim, and wore long robes of silver and white. Their skin shimmered slightly under the morning light. Their faces were kind, with no sharp edges. Their eyes held no judgment, only deep understanding. They looked at the gathered group with interest, then slowly walked toward Alara and the others. Jonas stepped forward. "We remember," he said. "We remember what you gave us." One of the beings, taller than the other, nodded slowly. "And we see what you have become," the visitor answered in a soft voice. "The harmony lives within you. The sisters made the right choice." The second being looked at Clara. "You carry the spirit of peace. Your voice holds comfort for many. The world will need that." Clara felt warmth rise in her chest. She did not speak but gave a gentle smile. The being seemed to understand. Raj stepped forward. "We have learned. We are not perfect, but we are trying. And the ones we woke. They carry a gift. One that can help heal our world." The shorter visitor turned toward the ship. Behind them, a panel opened. From within, a smooth sphere floated into the air. It hovered between the humans and the ship, glowing with a soft blue color. The visitors looked. "To Alara, this is for your world," the taller one said. "It holds knowledge, not weapons, not power, but truth. It will help you understand the harmony more deeply. If used with care, it can guide many." Alara stepped forward and raised her hand. The sphere floated gently toward her and rested in her palms. It felt warm, alive. Her mind began to feel clearer just by holding it. It spoke no words, but she sensed meaning behind it. The taller being spoke again. "The ones who rest below may wake when their time is right. Do not rush them. Each soul knows when it must rise." Alara looked back at the field. The other pods remained quiet. She knew not all would be awakened now. Some were waiting for a different moment, a different purpose. Clara turned to the group. "We must protect this place, not just the land but the idea. The kindness that made the sisters choose to trust. The stars, that is what we must share with the world." The visitors walked slowly among the awakened. They placed a hand on each person's shoulder. With each touch, the harmony thread grew stronger. It connected the group even more closely, yet without controlling them. It allowed them to feel the hopes and calm thoughts of others nearby. It created trust. After the last touch, the visitors returned to the ship. They paused at the door. "We will not stay," one said. "Our task was to plant the seed. You have grown it well. Now your world must decide what it becomes." Alara stepped forward. "What if others fear this? What if they come to take it, or to break it?" The taller being answered with calm. "Then show them what it is. Not through force, but through example. Let your peace be louder than their fear." With that, the door of the ship closed. The ramp lifted. The ship rose slowly into the sky, then vanished silently into the clouds. The field grew quiet again. Birds sang in the trees. The wind moved through the tall grass. But everything felt different now. The land seemed brighter. The air felt softer. ELA turned to the group. This is where it begins. Not a new world, but a better one. The world we were meant to build together. Raj held the sphere carefully. Jonas stood by the path, watching the rising sun. One by one, the awakened moved down the hill. Some returned to the chambers below. Some went to the trees to walk and think. All of them felt a new purpose. Over the next few weeks, the harmony began to spread. The team built a school beside the inn, a place to teach others about the harmony. People from nearby towns came to visit. Some were afraid at first, but the calm presence of the awakened softened their fear. They taught without pride, helped without reward. Slowly, word spread. No secrets, no tricks, only truth. The old grave markers were cleaned and restored. A small garden grew near them. Each name was remembered, each story honored. The sisters' resting place became a symbol of trust. One morning, Ilara stood by the graves. A child from a nearby village stood beside her. Are they sleeping? The child asked. Yes, Ilara said with a smile. But they're still helping us. The child looked up at her. Will they wake up someday? Ilara nodded. When they are needed again, they will. And with that, the child ran back toward the school, laughing as the wind carried her voice over the green hills. The harmony was alive. The promise of the sisters was kept. The 43 graves no longer held only silence. They held the roots of a better world. The wind over the Kentucky hills moved gently, brushing across the old stones of Millbrook Inn. Below the surface, deep in the chambers carved long ago, a quiet power had returned. The alien structure, shaped like a tree of glass and light, now stood fully awake. Its glow reached every corner of the underground vaults. Dr. Ilara Miles stood at the edge of the central chamber, with Jonas Bell and Raj Patel. Behind them, the lights on the sleeping pods began to blink. One by one, they changed. From red to soft white. The system was ready. The others were ready. They are being prepared, Jonas said quietly. I can feel their thoughts becoming clearer. How many do you think will wake now? Raj asked. Not all at once, Jonas answered, but many more than before. Ilara turned to the list they had made. So far, only 11 of the 43 volunteers had been awakened. Each person had brought something special to the team. Strength, patience, knowledge, or calm thinking. All of them had adapted well to the new world. Now, things were moving faster. The device had sent its final signal. The visitors from the stars had heard it. They were coming. Ilara knew she had little time to prepare. They began waking more volunteers. That morning, Clara Finch, the kind schoolteacher, helped guide them. Her warm voice and calm nature made the new arrivals feel safe. She explained how time had passed, how the world had changed. She shared the truth about the Cunninghams and the promise made to protect each soul who had trusted them. The next group included a farmer, a writer, and a pair of twin sisters who had traveled to Millbrook during the harsh winter of 1847. They had all shared the same dream during their long sleep. In the dream, they were told that Earth would one day need them. Not for war or power, but for wisdom and unity. Jonas spent time with each person, helping them understand what they had become. Their minds were sharper now. Their memories were strong. They could read emotions more easily, and some even began to sense each other's thoughts without speaking. This quiet connection grew with each person awakened. Raj called it the harmony thread. It was not mind control, it was understanding. A shared space of peace that linked them without force. The visitors had given it to them as a way to survive the pain of a changing world. News of the project had not reached the outside world yet. Ilara had asked for silence from her team. She knew once people learned about the reawakened, it would not remain quiet for long. Some would want to help. Others would try to control, but the world was already beginning to feel something. Satellites, In orbit had picked up a signal from deep space. A ship was moving toward Earth. It had no weapons. Its energy matched the signature of the alien device found at Millbrook. The space agency had quietly alerted Ilara. She had expected this news. The visitors were coming back, just as Jonas had said. They trusted us once, Jonas said to Ilara. They believed some humans could grow into something greater. If they return now and find only fear, we will lose that trust forever. We need to show them we are ready, Ilara replied. Not perfect, but ready to listen, to learn, and to welcome. Clara spoke next. We are not the answer, but we are the start of one. That is why the sisters chose us. Not because we were the strongest, but because we cared about others. More of the sleeping pods opened. The room was now filled with the quiet voices of people discovering light after a long sleep. Some cried, some laughed. Some stood silently, eyes closed, feeling the warmth of life return. Outside the chamber, the first signs of change appeared. The plants near the site had started to grow faster. The soil felt richer. The scanners showed small but clear changes in the land's health. The energy coming from the alien tree was not just light. It was life. Raj ran tests on the reawakened volunteers. He found something remarkable. Their blood carried new proteins. These proteins helped heal cells faster, clean toxins, and resist disease. The changes were not dangerous. They were helpful. Carefully shaped improvements left by the visitors. They are still human, Raj said, but better in ways that matter most. The harmony thread grew stronger as more people joined. They began working together without needing many words. Tasks were shared without arguments. They moved like a team that had trained for years. Ilara noticed that even her own stress began to fade in their presence. It was not magic. It was balance. Later that evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Jonas and Clara stood on the hill. They watched the sky above them. A single star pulsed brighter than the others. It was not a star. It was the ship. They will arrive soon. Jonas said, we must be the welcome they hoped for. Ilara stood beside them. She looked at the faces of the awakened. None of them feared what was coming. They were ready. Millbrook Inn had once been a place of rest for travelers. Now it had become a bridge between two worlds. Between the past and the future. Between Earth and the stars. The 43 were no longer just names on forgotten graves. They were the light that waited in the dark, now shining again. And soon, the sky itself would open to meet them. The chamber beneath the ruins of Millbrook Inn had become more than a research site. It was now a place of purpose. 11 of the 43 preserved volunteers had been awakened. Each one of them was healthy, calm, and filled with curiosity. They worked with Dr. Ilara Miles and Raj Patel, learning about the modern world and helping decide who would wake next. But even as the work continued peacefully, something strange had begun to happen. The alien device that had once pulsed softly with light now flickered with stronger signals. It sent bursts of energy through the chamber, sometimes shaking the walls slightly. The patterns were new, sharp, and harder to read. Raj had been monitoring the signals every night. At first, he believed the energy was simply reacting to the revivals. But now he was sure something else was happening. Ilara, the signal changed again last night, he said during a morning meeting in the lab tent. It's not just communicating with us anymore. It's reaching outward, toward the sky, with more power than before. Ilara looked over the data. The device was trying to connect to something. The original transmission they had sent weeks ago had probably reached deep space. But now it looked like something had answered. What if something is coming? Ilara asked, what if the visitors finally heard us? Jonas Bell entered the tent quietly. He listened to the conversation with steady eyes. They will return, he said. Margaret always believed they would. She said they promised. Ilara turned to him. What were they like? She asked. The visitors, what do you remember about them? Jonas sat down. They were tall and gentle. They did not speak with mouths. Their thoughts entered your mind like soft wind. They did not show anger, only concern. They told us our world was sick and that our kind was in danger, not from war, but from slow decay. They believed that a few chosen souls could become seeds for something better. Raj nodded slowly. If they're coming back, we should prepare. Alara agreed. She ordered the team to scan the skies, increase security, and continue studying the energy source of the device. But she also asked for silence. She did not want the public to know what they had found. Not yet. As the days passed, the earth around the site began to shift. Tiny quakes shook the ground, just enough to be felt but not enough to cause damage. The scanners picked up strange heat patterns deep below the chamber, in a place no one had explored. We need to dig deeper, Raj sighed. There's something down there. A second chamber, or maybe a power source. Alara hesitated. The last time they opened something, it changed everything. But her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She approved the dig. Machines were brought in. The excavation started near the back of the main chamber. After hours of careful digging, the team uncovered a thick layer of stone. It was not natural. It was placed there with purpose. Beneath it was another door, smaller than the first, made of the same silver material. Unlike the first door, this one did not open with the device. Alara touched the surface and felt warmth. It was alive or something close to it. She placed the device against the door. The symbols lit up, but the door remained closed. Then Jonas stepped forward. "Let me try," he said. He placed his hand on the center of the door. A soft tone rang out. The symbols shifted, forming a shape that looked like a star. Then the door opened slowly. Behind it was a circular room. The walls glowed with blue light. At the center stood a tall structure that looked like a tree made of glass and metal. Its branches reached toward the ceiling, each one glowing with soft energy. Raj's eyes widened. "This is not just a chamber," he said. "It's a memory bank, a storage unit, maybe even a control center." Alara stepped closer. "This was not built by humans," she said. "This was left by the visitors. This is part of their ship." Jonas looked around slowly. "I have seen this before, in dreams." As they approached the structure, the walls lit up with images. Not moving pictures, but still scenes from the past. One showed the Cunningham sisters standing beside a glowing figure. Another showed the guests being led into the chamber below. A third showed a star map with lines connecting Earth to several distant points in the galaxy. Then a new image appeared. It showed a ship, large and beautiful, shaped like a crescent moon. It hovered above a planet that was not Earth. Then it turned and moved toward space. The next image showed a storm. The ship was caught in it. Then the signal ended. Raj looked at the structure. They didn't mean to stay away this long. Something went wrong. Suddenly, the tree-like device pulsed with bright light. The chamber shook. The air became heavy. Alara reached for the scanner. The energy readings were climbing fast. "We need to shut it down," she said. Raj tapped the controls, but nothing stopped it. The structure had awakened fully. Then a voice filled the room. It was soft, clear, and not in any Earth language. Jonas stepped forward and closed his eyes. When he opened them, he spoke slowly. "It says the system has restarted. The return is confirmed. The visitors have received the signal. They are coming." The lights dimmed. The ground became still again. But now they all knew the truth. The visitors had heard the call. Their ship was returning, and Earth would have to be ready. The air in the valley had started to feel different. The days were brighter, the nights were quieter, and something beneath the surface of the land seemed to breathe with new life. Millbrook Inn was still nothing more than broken stones and lost memories. But the space beneath it was becoming the center of something greater than history. In the chamber, below the earth, Jonas Bell stood among the sleeping. He walked slowly, looking at the faces of those who had joined him in the agreement made long ago. Each person had chosen to lie down in trust, guided by the Cunningham sisters. Jonas remembered them both clearly now. Martha with her steady voice and quiet strength, and Margaret with her gentle laugh and deep belief in the visitors from the sky. Dr. Alara Miles sat in a chair just outside the chamber. Her notes were spread across a table. She had not left the site since Jonas awakened. Every scan and test showed he was completely healthy. More than healthy, in fact. His body was strong, his mind sharp. He could remember things with perfect clarity. His senses were sharper than human averages. He also had a strange sense of connection, not only to the place but to the other preserved guests. Jonas told Alara that during the long sleep there were dreams, not just his own dreams, but shared ones. He said he could feel the thoughts of the others, as if they were all connected. He called it the gift of harmony, something the visitors had promised. A kind of quiet link between minds, made not with machines, but through something deeper. Raj Patel, Ilara's assistant, worked through each new message the alien device sent. The language became easier to understand every day. One message repeated. Often, staged revival required. Preserve stability. Emotional strength must be present before release. Jonas explained what this meant. The visitors had not wanted to risk waking all the people at once. Emotions after long sleep could be confusing. Memories could return too quickly. So the process was designed to be slow. One person would wake, then another. Time would be given to learn and to help others adjust. Ilara agreed with the plan. She chose to observe and not rush. These people had waited 200 years. They could wait a little longer to wake safely. The next person to rise was a woman named Clara Finch. She had been a schoolteacher in 1847, traveling to Millbrook in search of work. Clara opened her eyes calmly. She smiled when she saw Jonas and placed her hand on his. They did not speak at first. They just stood together, breathing the air of the new world. Clara was thoughtful. She asked questions about the present time. She wanted to know about education, about families, and about how people live now. Ilara answered her with kindness and patience. Clara listened carefully and then said something that made Ilara pause. The world sounds wide and full of wonder, but also lonely. People need each other more than ever. That has not changed. Jonas and Clara spent time in the sunlight. They walked through the hills above the inn, guided by Ilara's team. They were surprised by the machines and the silent drones that followed them, but they did not fear them. They were calm and ready. Their minds were clear, and their hearts were steady. Each night, Ilara met with Raj to review everything. The scans showed the same thing with Clara as with Jonas. Perfect health. No signs of aging. Brainwaves stronger than normal. Ilara wondered what the long-term effect of the alien preservation would be. Would they live longer? Would they keep these abilities? Would they even remain fully human? Raj believed the visitors had added something to their bodies. A small change, not enough to make them alien, but enough to help them evolve. The 43 were not just volunteers. They were pioneers. Jonas and Clara began helping Ilara and Raj plan the order of revival. They knew the sleeping ones better than anyone. They remembered names, voices, and stories. They suggested waking those with calm minds first. Those who had trusted most deeply in the sisters. Those who could adjust without fear. By the end of the second week, 5 more were awakened. Each one brought new skills, new questions, and new memories. A carpenter, a nurse, a soldier, a merchant, and a young girl who had traveled with her parents. All were calm and open. All spoke of dreams filled with stars and light. They shared one memory in common. A voice in the dream that said, "You're Gift will guide the broken. Your time will come when they are ready. Alara took this message seriously. She knew the world was not perfect. There was war, pollution, and greed. But there was also kindness, science, and hope. Maybe these 43 volunteers were not just a gift from the past, but a message for the future. One evening, as the sun lowered behind the hills, Jonas stood beside the old chimney of the inn. He placed a hand on the stone and whispered a quiet thank you to the sisters. He knew their names would one day be cleared. History had painted them as strange women, but now the truth was rising like light through the soil. Alara joined him and asked what he hoped for next. Jonas looked at the land and then at the sky. We are not here to take. We are here to give. The world we knew is gone, but people are still people. If we can help them find peace, then this long sleep was worth it. Alara nodded. Then we will wake them one by one and let the world meet them slowly. From above, a satellite passed quietly over the land. It watched, recorded, and sent data back to the research station. But far beyond the satellite's reach, beyond the moon and stars, something else had seen the signal too, and it had started to return. 3 days had passed since the vault beneath Millbrook Inn was opened. Dr. Alara Miles could not sleep. Her mind returned again and again to the chamber deep underground, where 43 people still lay inside their glass beds, untouched. By time. In her mobile lab, the alien device continued to glow softly. It no longer sent strange sounds or warnings. Now it waited, calm and still, like a key that had unlocked only the first door. Alara sat beside it, reading the final pages of Martha Cunningham's diary once again. We did not fear them. They came from the sky, but they were kind. They asked for our help. Margaret saw beauty in them. I saw duty. We gave our trust, and they gave their gift. We did not offer death. We offered something better, a second chance. Alara closed the diary and looked at the sky through the tent flap. Stars were beginning to appear. The night was cool, and the air was silent. The only sound was the hum of the scanning equipment and the soft tapping of Raj Patel's fingers on his keyboard. Raj had been studying the full translation of the alien message. The language was now readable. The visitors had come to Earth for one reason. A sickness had been spreading, not only through human bodies but also through the air and soil. It was a quiet sickness, one that would not kill quickly but would weaken future generations. The visitors had called it a genetic drift. Their goal had not been invasion. It had been research. They had chosen peaceful contact. They had met the Cunningham sisters, who offered their home as a place of rest for travelers. Over time, the visitors had asked the sisters to help them find people who were kind, strong, and willing to take part in the experiment. The diary had not lied. The guests had been told the truth, at least some part of it. They had agreed to sleep, to wait, to be saved. Raj turned toward Alara. There is more, he said. The visitors left something else behind, a signal. It was not strong enough to reach their home, but it was sent anyway. I found traces of it. It was a request for return. Did they ever come back? Alara asked. Raj shook his head. No ship ever landed again. At least not here. Maybe they were lost. Maybe the message never reached them. Or maybe they believed their mission failed. Alara looked at the device again. What if we send the signal again? Now with our tech, we can boost it. We can tell them that the people are still here, still alive. Raj smiled. I already started. Later that night, the skies above Millbrook glowed faintly as the boosted signal was launched into deep space. It carried a message in 2 languages, one from Earth, one from the visitors. It told the story of the 43 preserved humans. It included the diary of Martha Cunningham. It carried hope. On the 4th night, something strange happened. At exactly 3 in the morning, every scanner and camera near the chamber lost power for 10 seconds. Then everything turned back on. Nothing seemed broken. But the signal from the alien device had changed. It pulsed faster, brighter. Alara and Raj rushed to the chamber. The air felt warmer than before. Inside, the lights along the walls had shifted to a soft blue. One of the glass beds was open. A man stood beside it. He was tall, with light brown hair and calm eyes. His clothes were old, but they looked freshly washed. He did not fall. He did not shake. He simply stood and looked at Alara with quiet wonder. "My name is Jonas Bell," he said. "Are you the caretakers now?" Alara stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with surprise. "I am Dr. Alara Miles. This is Raj Patel. We are researchers. You have been asleep for 200 years. Jonas looked around the chamber. He saw the others still sleeping. He placed his hand on the side of the bed he had come from. "I dreamed of stars," he said. "I dreamed of a voice that told me to wait. I remember Margaret and Martha. They said we would be safe. They said one day people would come who would understand." Raj approached carefully. "Do you feel well?" "Are you in pain?" Jonas shook his head. "I feel clear, like waking from a long, good rest. My thoughts are strong. My body feels new." Alara watched him closely. His skin had a faint glow, not from light but from health. His eyes moved quickly, studying every detail. She remembered what the message had said. The people had been enhanced. Improved. Jonas turned toward Alara. "Are there others like me? Did the world survive the sickness?" Alara took a slow breath. "Yes, the world survived. The sickness changed people, but we adapted. Still, not everyone is healthy, not everyone is kind. But we're trying." Jonas looked up toward the ceiling. "Then maybe we can help. That was the plan, I think. To return stronger. To guide, not control." Alara nodded. "You are not a secret anymore. The world will know, but we will protect you as long as we can." Jonas smiled gently. "Then let us wake the others, slowly, one at a time. The world will need time, just like we did." The next morning, the sky was clear. The chamber beneath Millbrook Inn remained hidden, but it was no longer forgotten. The first of the 43 had returned. The others would follow when ready. And far above the earth, past the stars, the signal continued to travel. Alara stood by the old chimney, holding the diary. She no longer saw it as just a book. It was a promise, and that promise was finally being kept. The morning sun rose slowly over the hills of Kentucky, casting a warm light across the ruins of Millbrook Inn. The excavation team worked with quiet focus. Every layer of soil brought them closer to the secret chamber, buried beneath the 43 graves. Dr. Alara Miles stood beside the opening, watching the progress with sharp eyes and a calm mind. She held the leather-bound diary of Martha Cunningham in her hands. Its pages, though aged, were still strong. Each word written by the hand of a woman who had once lived here felt heavy with meaning. Alara turned to a marked page that had been folded over many times. Martha had written about dreams, voices, and a great task. "They are not from Earth. They come from the cold sky and shine like silver fire. They speak with soft thoughts, not words. They say our kind is sick. They say the earth breathes poison now. They offer us a way to live forever." Alara read the passage again. She knew it was not just old poetry. It was a real message. The device they had found inside the wall proved it. The silver object continued to pulse with low energy. It was not just a relic. It was still alive. Inside the lab tent, Raj Patel adjusted the scanners and watched the alien language scroll across the screen. His face was lit by the soft glow of the monitor. The device had more to say, but the translation software needed time. He turned to Alara with a small smile. "This thing is more than a message, it is a tool. It has memory, language, and a map, he said. A map of what? She asked. Raj pointed to the screen. The map was simple, a circle, divided by lines. One line pulsed bright blue. It pointed to a location near the inn. Raj zoomed in and matched it with their satellite data. It led to the chamber under the graves. Ilara felt a chill. The graves were not simple burial sites. They were part of something larger. Back outside, the team reached a layer of thick stone. It was not natural. It had been placed there on purpose. Machines lifted the slab carefully. Underneath was a metal door, smooth and silver like the device. Symbols were carved into its surface, the same ones found in the diary sketches. The door had no handle, no lock. But as soon as Ilara brought the device close, the symbols glowed. A soft tone filled the air, like a chime carried by the wind. The door slid open without sound, revealing a set of stone stairs leading into darkness. Ilara turned on her headlamp. With Raj behind her, she stepped slowly into the passage. The air was dry and still. The walls were smooth, cut by something more precise than any tool from the 1800s. Along the walls were carvings. Simple pictures showing humans standing beside tall beings with no faces and long arms. Above them were stars. The stairs ended at a wide chamber. Ilara stopped at the final step and looked around. There were 43 beds, each one enclosed in a clear cover. Inside each bed lay a person. They were dressed in clothes from the mid-1800s. Their skin was pale, but not lifeless. Their faces were peaceful. No sign of pain or decay. Ilara moved to the nearest bed and placed her hand on the cover. The person inside was a woman, maybe 30 years old, with dark hair and a soft smile. She looked as if she was only sleeping. "This is not a tomb," Raj whispered. "This is a preservation vault." The alien device began to hum louder. Lights along the chamber walls turned on. The air shifted. A new voice echoed through the space. It was the same alien tone, but now the translation was clearer. Preservation successful. 43 hosts stabilized. Genetic match complete. Awaiting retrieval. Ilara and Raj looked at each other. They had uncovered a sleeping crew from the past, prepared by two women who had believed in something no one else could understand. Martha and Margaret Cunningham were not criminals. They were guardians. They had offered a chance at survival during a dark time in history. The guests they hosted had not been killed. They had been saved. Ilara opened the diary again. The last few pages had been written with shaking hands. Martha had described the sickness spreading through nearby towns. People were dying quickly. Children, parents, travelers. She wrote about the fear, the hunger, and the silence. But she also wrote about hope. We cannot stop the sickness, but we can save the kindest souls. They trust us. They sleep now, safe beneath the earth. One day, when the world is ready, they will wake. Ilara felt something stir inside her, a mix of sadness and admiration. The sisters had given up everything to protect strangers. Their story had been lost in rumors and fear. But now, after 2 centuries, it was finally known. Raj tapped on his monitor. The device showed a final message. Host signal confirmed. Revival sequence locked. External command required. He looked at Ilara. We can wake them. She nodded slowly. Not yet. We need to understand more. If we rush this, we might lose everything. They left the chamber, sealing the door behind them. The preservation systems remained active. The people inside were still safe. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. The sun stood high above the hills. The land of Millbrook was quiet again. But its secret had been uncovered. Ilara knew this was only the beginning. The world thought it knew its history. Now, it would have to rewrite it. In the year 2147, the countryside of Kentucky looked quiet and green. The hills were soft, The trees were full, and the wind moved slowly across the fields. Not far from a forgotten road stood the ruins of a place once known as Millbrook Inn. Stones had fallen, wood had rotted. Only the broken chimney remained standing, like a lonely guard watching over the past. Dr. Ilara Miles, a young archaeologist, stood near the ruins with a scanner in her hand. She had short brown hair, a sharp mind, and a strong belief in science. She was sent here by the American Historical Preservation Division to study the area after a local farmer found bones while digging a new well. The bones were not alone. They were buried in rows. 43 graves, all in the same area behind the inn, lined up like soldiers. None of them had names. Only small iron markers. All dated the same year minus 1847. Locals spoke in whispers when they talked about Millbrook Inn. They said it was cursed, that the Cunningham sisters who ran the inn were not ordinary women. Some said the sisters were kind. Others said they were strange and too quiet. There were stories of travelers checking in and never being seen again. Ilara did not believe in stories. She believed in facts. While the other researchers took measurements and photographs, Ilara entered the remains of the inn. The floor was gone. The roof had collapsed long ago. She walked carefully, stepping over old beams and rusted nails. She was drawn to what remained of the sitting room. There, she found a brick hearth that once warmed many guests. She leaned down and touched the bricks. One felt loose. She pulled it free. Behind it was a hidden space, just large enough to fit a small wooden box. The box was old and dusty. The metal latch clicked open with little effort. Inside was a leather-bound diary, cracked with age. The name Martha Cunningham was written on the first page in elegant handwriting. Alongside the diary was something strange. A round object made of smooth silver metal with soft lines and symbols that shimmered when the light touched them. Ilara's heart beat faster. She had seen metal like this before, but only in off-world research files. It was not human-made. She carefully carried the box back to the lab tent. Her assistant, Raj Patel, looked up from his monitor. He was good with tech and even better with alien languages. "I think we found something big," she said. Raj took the object and scanned it. The symbols glowed. The scanner blinked twice and showed an unknown energy signature. Then the object hummed softly. Ilara and Raj stared at it, waiting for something to happen. A soft blue light rose from the object and formed a shape, a small orb floating in the air. Then came a voice. Not a human voice, but not threatening either. It spoke slowly in a calm tone, warning. Genetic incompatibility detected. Preservation required. Host cooperation essential. Raj's eyes widened. Ilara opened the diary and flipped through the pages. Martha had written about visitors from the sky. She described them as shining beings who walked like humans but had no shadow. Her sister Margaret believed the visitors were angels. But Martha thought they were scientists from another world. Ilara read aloud a passage. "They come at night and speak in dreams. They say the sickness is near. They say our kind will not survive. They offer a way. We choose who may be saved." Ilara sat down slowly. The words were clear. The year 1847 was known in history books as a time of disease and hunger in many parts of the country. But this was something else. The sisters were not harming people. They were helping them. "Do you think the 43 people in those graves were saved?" Raj asked. "Maybe not graves," Ilara replied. "Maybe they were vaults." That night, the team ran more tests on the object. It was still active. The diary gave clues about how the device worked. The sisters had followed instructions given to them by the visitors. They had prepared rooms below the inn. The guests were placed into a kind of resting sleep, not death. The sisters called it a gift. But if that was true, why were the rooms never found? Why did no one speak of this in the old records? Elara believed. The answer was buried deeper, below the earth, under the graves. She requested a ground scan from the robotic dig team. The map showed a chamber, 10 meters down, untouched for centuries. At dawn, the dig began. As machines cleared the dirt, strange readings grew stronger. The energy from the object matched the signal from below. Elara stood by the edge, watching as something long forgotten prepared to return to the surface. The wind picked up. The chimney of the old inn groaned softly. The land around Millbrook Inn had held a secret for 200 years. Now it was ready to be told.